Buff Nation, what's going on? Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. It's been a busy one for me, but had to get on here, talk about the NFL draft, talking about CU. There's been a lot that I've wanted to talk about regarding Shedeur and Travis Hunter. This is probably for another video, but if you're not playing Travis Hunter at wide receiver in the NFL, or if you're not scouting him as one, I've seen rankings that have excluded him in the wide receiver rankings as a Bolitnikoff winner. Man, it's absolutely crazy. But I think that, of course, the talk is going to be about Shedeur, Travis, where they're going. But I really do think that Colorado has a great chance to have more than 2 draft picks this year in the NFL draft. And I mean, it's been a handful of years since we've had somebody drafted. It might have been Juwan Winfrey there in the 6th or 7th round and Laviska Shenault. They might have come out in the same year. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Smash that like and subscribe. Thank you again for 13,000. Really does mean a lot. We're on our way to 14. World domination, baby. And, hey, shout out to my mom, late Christmas present, DMVR, fight for victory coffee cup. It looks freaking awesome. But let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Will Sheppard, Lajohntay, Wester, Jimmy Horn. These are guys that you're starting to see already before the Shrine Bowl, before the Combine, all this. They're starting to gain momentum. I've noticed that they've started to climb their way up some of these draft boards, and I wanted to show you guys this very, very quickly. So let's go ahead and let's start with PFF, because they're probably one of the most popular places for NFL draft content, rankings, all of that. Of course, they got Travis Hunter there, number 1 on their big board. This is, gonna strong disagree with this, but it is what it is. And strong disagree with this. As much as I love Shiloh, I do not see him as a top 200 player in this draft, but I would be more than happy to be wrong. But this is where things get interesting. You've seen Will Sheppard start to climb the board a little bit. 6'3", 205, a guy that has that traditional NFL wide receiver type of size, talent, speed. I know that a lot of flack was given to him for a couple of the drops that he had this year, but outside of that, he didn't drop the ball. He actually had a very, very low contested catch rate. I think that he's somebody, when I'm talking about my Denver Broncos, I could see him eventually filling a Cortland Sutton type role on a team, which I think would be really, really good. Jimmy Horn, ranked in the top 250. Guys, I think this year, or most years, I know that with the supplemental picks, things can change a little bit, but I think this year there's going to be 257 players drafted this year. And so some of these guys, they're ranked within being draftable, so to speak. Jimmy Horn, obviously tantalizing speed. You cannot teach that. I think where he gets drafted will largely depend on, honestly, some of his testing in times, because he has struggled with injury. I think that's why you've seen his draft stock fall. But if he runs a low 4.3 or a high 4.2, which I think he is capable of doing, watch out. Teams aren't going to ignore that. No way. And it's just a dynamic playmaker. The NFL needs guys that can just take it to the house anytime they touch the ball. Jimmy Horn is one of those guys. You can get him the ball deep. You can get him the ball quickly in space. You can do some interesting stuff with him, orbit motion, jet sweep, all that. Versatile player, and I think could be deadly from the slot as well. And then lastly, Lajohntay, Wester, ranked in the top 240. If there's anybody that kind of reminds me of Tank Dell out of this group, obviously it's Lajohntay Wester. He was, decorated at FAU, just like Tank Dell was at Houston, if I remember correctly. But coming out to Colorado, I think he had a career high in touchdowns this past year. A little small, slender, 167 pounds. It'll be interesting to see where he weighs in at. But 5'11" is great height. And I think somebody that is just deadly from the slot, great route runner, great speed. I'm very interested to see what he tests at with his 40 time, because I don't think people who are just casually watching Colorado or just kind of keeping up with what's going on truly understand the type of talent that he is. And so, right now, how PFF has it, with these guys being in all these guys kind of being in the top 50 or so, aside from Shiloh. I'm sorry, Shiloh. Right now, I think you're more a UDFA than a drafted player. We'll have to see. Please prove me wrong, but that's what I think right now. This is awesome to see. Now, let's go over to another draft site and kind of see where they have rankings. Now, NFL mock draft database, I think that this brings in a lot of different information. This is a consensus big board, but if you look throughout Colorado, this is really interesting. So you got Shedeur and Travis there in the top three. I'd probably put both of them ahead of Cam Ward, but that's just me. No shade to Cam Ward, fan of him as well. San Antonio, let's go. But then you continue to move down. Will Sheppard, NFL mock draft database, they have him in at 171. He's been as high as 135. And again, will be in the Shrine Bowl, as you can see right there, which is awesome to see. You see Lajohntay Wester still within the top 40. You see he's gone up a little bit, getting some nice momentum here. 232. You love to see that. Wrong direction. Then Jimmy Horn. They still got him undrafted right now at 316, but I do think you will continue to see him rise up the ranks after the Shrine Bowl. Guys like Lajohntay Wester and Jimmy Horn, scouts, the media, man, hopefully I'm credentialed to go to this Shrine Bowl here very, very soon in a couple weeks. But right now, guys, I don't know if it's looking likely. I still have yet to hear from them after multiple follow-ups. But nonetheless, I think a lot of guys are going to be very, very interested and fascinated on guys like Jimmy Horn and Lajohntay Wester in these bowl game practices. No doubt about it. So some of the other guys that they had on here, yeah, like they got Shiloh more around 332. I'm sorry, man. That might be closer to where I got Shiloh. But guys like Kobe King, I think, could be drafted. I wouldn't say that this is just Colorado. Yeah. Brew McCoy, I could see him being much higher up on this list. So you'll see these lists become more and more refined as time goes on. But I think that this is positive indication that you are going to see some of Colorado's best players drafted this year. Now, you might say, Dave, what about BJ Green? What about the Shark, Cameron Silman-Craig? That remains to be seen. Again, we'll see how Cameron Silman-Craig performs at the Shrine Bowl. In my mind, I see him as definitely a draftable talent. And it was great to hear a lot of positive reviews from BJ Green over at the Hula Bowl. Seemed like he was one of the top performers at the Hula Bowl as well. So things are really, really looking to take a big step this year when it comes to having more to fall back on the CU to NFL pipeline right now. Some might say, well, oh man, Dave, none of these guys are first round picks outside of the first two. What does that matter? You know what? It does matter. You got to start somewhere. And yeah, it's hard to get drafted, guys. 257 this year are going to have their name called in all of college football. And you are able to find gems. Maybe not as often as like a third round pick, but as a UDFA, so we'll see what happens with BJ Green. Joe saying in here he's a tweener, might be in a UDFA. We'll have to see. I think he's going to be right on the fringe there, but this is going to be really fun to track. We have 13 guys from this year's team that have generated legitimate NFL interest through different all-star game invites, combine invites, and so forth. So I think we're going to see a nice chunk of those guys get drafted. Now, I'm not saying over 50%, but I do think we're going to see more than two Buffs have their name called. Maybe, who knows? Maybe somebody like Will Sheppard or Jimmy Lajohntay could have their name called on day 2 in round 3 or something like that. But after you get past the first 3 rounds, really it's kind of anybody's guess rounds 4 through 7 on who has their name called. And so I think that there's going to be a good chance those guys get their name called on day 3. I don't know if any of those guys are day 2 guys. I just don't know. Again, there's a lot of great talent in the draft, as always, when you got 200 plus guys from college football that are getting picked. But all that to say, I love the momentum that's going on here. We're going to be tracking it, and I cannot wait for the draft. Now, again, this is another different topic, but I did want to say I hope Shedeur Sanders goes to the New York Giants. That's what I want to see. But man, that means Travis Hunter is going to be stuck in Cleveland. That would suck. I do think with the Titans hiring Borgonzi, I believe is his name, assistant GM from the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're looking at traits similar to Patrick Mahomes, maybe they end up going for the high ceiling play. That's what a lot of drafts experts say. Cam Ward's the high ceiling play because of his just raw athleticism. Maybe Cam Ward really is Tennessee bound, but that's okay with me. Give Shedeur's Malik Neighbors and the young core of weapons that they're developing over there. They just got to get the offensive line right. But put Shedeur in the NFC. I think he'll have more success as well. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I have to get out of here. I will be back either today or tomorrow. As always, again, smash that subscribe and bell notifications so you know when I go live. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy all the football games this weekend. Let's go Buffs.